In the Amazon interview, a candidate will describe a problem, explain how they fixed it, and then shut up. And that could work fine until the next candidate doesn't stop at the first fix, but keeps pushing for more improvements. Because at Amazon, solving the original problem is just the beginning. It's like an army that doesn't stop at the river, but keeps pushing until there's nothing left to conquer. That was Alexander the Great, and this also is Amazon's leadership principle: insist on the highest standards. I'm Nick, a former Amazonian, and I'll show you how to master the leadership principle: insist on the highest standards in your Amazon interview by sharing 3 real stories from my time at Amazon. I'll start with a Valentine's Day failure that Amazon never planned for. In February 2014, Amazon ran an experiment with those employees brave enough to take it on. The experiment was, can you live on Amazon for 1 entire month? I said yes. I raised my hand and I said, I want to be a part of this experiment. The condition was, in any business that Amazon operates in, you're not allowed to use any competing product or service but Amazon's. For example, oil changes of my car are okay, but purchasing something from another vendor is not okay. So I said, yes, I want to be a part of this. I want to improve Amazon services and products. And I enrolled, and things were going pretty well until Valentine's Day. Amazon delivered flowers to a very limited number of zip codes in Seattle, and my zip code was not covered by that Prime delivery service. So Amazon couldn't deliver flowers to my front door, and therefore my wife got this. An empty vase. You can imagine she was furious. And I delivered that feedback to Amazon Prime, trust me. But here's the key. Amazon didn't run this to brag. They run this experiment to break themselves, to find out what is doable and what's not. That is the definition of high standards. And because of that definition and that way of thinking, today, 10 years later, it's completely normal if I asked you, hey, could you live on Amazon for a month? Could you live on Amazon for a year? Of course. But without those early day snafus and without those learnings, without those experiments with high standards, Amazon would have never gotten to the position that it's in today. High standards is about pushing yourself until you fail. Amazon expected to get their clocks cleaned back in the day of this Amazon all-month challenge. And they did get their clocks cleaned. And because of that, people can live comfortably on Amazon for a day or a month or a year. Now, should Amazon declare a victory because of that? No. Customers are always divinely dissatisfied, as Bezos says. And that dissatisfaction makes high standards the true North Star of Amazon. Look at Prime shipping today and how far it has evolved. Amazon launched Prime as a 2-day shipping promise for which you paid a subscription. But then they changed Prime in time to a 1-day shipping promise. Now, frequently, Amazon delivers items same day to customers. Why? Why do you care to get the majority of your items on Wednesday or Thursday? You don't. I'll give you an example. Do you care to get a toothbrush a day earlier or not? Or do you care to get this 3D dinosaur wooden puzzle a day earlier or a day later? No, you don't. You don't. Yet Amazon gives you that promise and keeps pushing that high standards of Prime is going to deliver in 2 days, then they're going to deliver in 1 day, then they're going to deliver same day, then they're going to deliver, I'm sure, within a few hours. That dissatisfaction and that high standards never rests. Therefore, you should look at high standards as a means to an end. And that end almost always is customer obsession. High standards is not an island. It's the thing behind the curtain that pushes Amazon forward. Now, high standards by default and by design disagrees with some of the other sexier leadership principles, such as deliver results and bias for action. But in those disagreements and in those clashes, high standards is like the glue that keeps Amazon's culture together and pushes the company forward. Think about it from another point of view. Even when Amazon announced the 1 month Amazon challenge in 2014. They were looking for people, for employees willing to take that leap. They were looking for missionaries, not mercenaries. They were looking for fools like me who are willing to enrage, to incur the wrath of their spouses to help push the high standards leadership principle in Amazon further. That's the importance of high standards. What happens behind the curtain while no one's looking? Now let's talk about OP1, Operating Plan 1, which is my second story today. OP1 happens once a year at Amazon, and it's the budgeting and planning exercise that keeps the company operating year in and year out on a 12-month going basis. The way this exercise works is that it's a bottoms-up exercise where every team gets together once a year for a number of months and thinks about their goals that they're willing to commit to for the next 12 months, and also what new products and services they're going to build. What established products they're going to keep marching forward with and keep shipping and so on and so forth, and what the goals are for these products, and also what new crazy unproven ideas they're going to take on and try to incubate from zero. So every team does this exercise and then gets together and reports that exercise to their manager. And then once the exercise completes for that team, then the next higher level team, the team of all the managers who've just had their OP1 plans done, they get together and they form their own OP1 plan. And then all the directors do the same thing. They report to the VP, and then the VPs report to the senior VPs, and the senior VPs report to the CEO. That's how the OP1 process works at Amazon. When I worked at Amazon, in Amazon Game Studios, our OP1 plan usually peaked at the CEO level of AWS. At the time, the AWS CEO was Andy Jassy. That was fine and dandy until 1 year we had made a number of significant acquisitions in Amazon Game Studios so that our OP1 was selected to go all the way up, not just to Jeff Bezos, but to the Amazon board of directors. It was an immense amount of pressure. And I was the lucky soul who was selected to be the person who would write the OP1 plan. I was effectively the program manager who would work with all the individual teams, all the leaders of those teams, so on and so forth, get together their products, their goals, their crazy ideas, and have that document be delivered to the Amazon board of directors. One clarification here, one final clarification, is that these OP1 plans, they're not presentations. They're not these pitches that you show up live and present on a board behind you. No, these are documents. These are narrative documents that are 6 pages in length and have an unlimited number of pages in the appendix. So I was the person in charge of writing the OP1 document, and I revised that document 72 times. I'll repeat it again. I revised the document 72 times. Like this little stubby pencil, I kept doing it over and over and over again. I kept pushing myself. That is high standards. Endless scrutiny, revision after revision after revision. The goal isn't to get it right once. The goal is to pressure test it until it cannot be wrong. I scrubbed every single idea, every single statement, every single thought, every punctuation, countless times over and over until it was just right. I'll use another analogy to give you a sense of what this is like. In law exams, professors would italicize the semicolon mark because whether it's italicized or not changes the legal meaning of the entire paragraph. It's practically imperceptible to the eye, but it matters a ton. That was the high level of high standards that I committed to, and that we all as a team committed to, revising this document 72 times. That's what OP1 is like. Details that are imperceptibly small matter and drive businesses that deliver billions of dollars worth of revenue. All right, let's move to my third and final story about the goals process at Amazon. I mentioned that goals are a part of the OP1 process, and goals are brutal. Goals are the things that you commit to as an Amazonian to deliver over the next 12 months. And each goal must have what's called a single threaded owner. Each goal is non-composite, meaning it cannot be broken into any amount of smaller goals. It's at the lowest indivisibly atomic level of specificity. But because of high standards at Amazon, you are expected to fail on at least 30% of your goals. High standards commands that you are ambitious with those goals. Much like a balloon, I'll show you. Here's a balloon. And high standards expect you to push that balloon high and inflate it and be ambitious with it until you pop it, until 30% of those goals are expected to fail. That's what high standards means. Once a goal is set in the Amazon OP1 process, it cannot be changed. The output, the outcome for that goal could either be you met the goal or DNM, you did not meet the goal. That's how unrelenting and exact high standards is. You could come up with a number of new goals as you go through the year and you learn more about your business and you hear from customers and you observe their behaviors. You add goals to that original OP1 list of goals. But those goals, the existing ones and the new ones, they could not be changed. They're non-compound goals, atomically indivisible goals with only two outcomes, met or did not meet. In the system of the Amazon goal setting process, you can again see how high standards does not live alone. It combines well with other leadership principles such as invent and simplify, learn and be curious, and think big. And in that environment, high standards and pushing you to fail leads to a better byproduct and a better end result, like that empty vase 10 plus years ago on Valentine's Day led to indirectly Amazon becoming the de facto standard for millions of people around the world to rely on their services and products day in and day out, hour in and hour out. All right, so now you understand the truth. High standards is not about perfectionism. It's about pushing yourself further past the first done and forcing an environment where even failure leads to a positive outcome in the long run. This was a video 7 in a series of 16 where I walk you through every single leadership principle so that you can ace those leadership principles in your Amazon interview. Next, now that you understand how high standards works, next you can watch this video here where I'm going to walk you through the importance of the invent and simplify leadership principle at Amazon. Watch this video here next, and I'll see you there soon.